I'm really interested in what happens when we die. In the US, it's a really complicated system. Some places have a coroner, some places have a combination coroner sheriff system. In Texas, they have a justice of the peace system, which is kind of like a coroner plus a judge. And then there's the medical examiner system. And honestly, there's probably a lot that falls somewhere in between that I've just never worked in. But I know that's not how things work everywhere. And I know that in part because I recently went on a trip. I just went to the Nordic Conference on Forensic Medicine. 1, 2, 3, go! So I just finished with the meet and greet at the conference. Today was the first day that I got into Denmark. First flight went really well. I loved the fancy seats. And I had some champagne when I first sat down. The food was good. They put down a cloth. Oh, this is a motorcycle. They put down a cloth, which felt very fancy for an airplane. And yeah, I slept most of the time.
Well, at some point I fell asleep. I don't remember falling asleep. I have a feeling I did, and the flight attendants laid me down, which was nice. Now I have breakfast.
I woke up and she offered me breakfast, and there was only like 45 minutes left to go in the flight. And then after that, then I landed in Frankfurt, and it was hot.
Oh, it's hot in Germany. Have us bored out here. Ooh, it's hot. Had to run at the airport.
And then I took a flight to Copenhagen, and I got into my Airbnb, and I left my stuff, and I immediately went to the meet and greet for the conference. And I think I'm the only American there, but I got to talk to somebody from Brussels and somebody from the Netherlands, and I made a friend from Copenhagen who's actually going to take over as the new chief in Odense here in Denmark, so that should be cool. So yeah, hoping to learn some more stuff about forensic medicine, forensic pathology, sort of forensic work over here. And it was also cool because I got to just walk around Denmark a lot, and I could see, like, these are the people, these are the minds that brought us Lego and gave me the ability to have a tiny replica of the house from Twilight in my own house. As I'm walking around, I noticed that everything here is older, and everything just feels more mature, you know? So the next day I started with a croissant full of Nutella and some coffee, and just sort of wandered my way back over to where we were having our lectures. And that was in this beautiful old lecture hall that belonged to the University of Copenhagen. And we all sat down, we got a welcome. And as part of the welcome, they actually brought out the Danish, I think it was the choir for the University of Copenhagen, and they sang us traditional Danish folk songs. So we've just finished the opening meeting at the Forensic Conference in Copenhagen. Had a very nice talk from a woman who is a cardiac pathologist in England, and she came to give a talk on forensic cardiac pathology. Yeah, and then after the whole day of lectures, we were invited down to Copenhagen City Hall so that we could get welcomed to the city by, I think they called him the mayor of health and wellness for the city. But he was a very Danish guy, and he did his whole introduction in English with his very cute little son on his hip. And he also invited us all to go to a death metal festival.
Festival for black metal, heavy metal taking place here in Copenhagen. And I don't think it's a coincidence that these two events take place at the same time. And if you don't do that, then enjoy the weather here, take a swim in the harbor between the meetings and the speeches. And I just hope that you will enjoy the city and that you will have a fruitful meeting here in our capital. Welcome.
So we just finished the conference, day one of the conference here in Denmark, and it was really good. It was cool to hear other people's opinions on how we do forensic histopathology for cardiac tissue. There's a woman from England who's telling us how they do things in England, and one who does things in Australia. So just overall getting to learn from a lot of different people here at the Nordic Conference. So apparently it's not cold to swim in the water here, so everybody just jumps in. And these guys just told me it's you're not supposed to swim here, but you can swim anyway, because what are they gonna do, I guess? So yeah, I don't know, man. Denmark was pretty fun. They had a lot of cool stuff. I saw this crazy statue. It was a bunch of pigs in trench coats surrounding a giant middle finger, which was apparently in protest of an underground parking lot. Hi, this is Eric while I'm editing this video. So I didn't talk about Danish hot dogs, and they're amazing. I don't really know what the difference is, but they're definitely different. And I just wanted to bring it up because I have footage of the hot dogs and I want to include it because they were so good. So when the weather is good in Copenhagen, everybody's out. This is 9 o'clock at night. During the conference, we were allowed to tour the facility that they use for forensic cases in Copenhagen, but there were a lot of signs. I mean, they made it very clear that I couldn't film there, so the best I can do is describe it. Crazy skate park at the hospital. Holy shit, there's a half pipe.
And this is our section, forensic pathology. Head of the section we have two, both of them are doctors. And besides those we have 31 medical doctors. That's more than most other forensic institutes.
Honestly, it was pretty similar to a lot of our nicer facilities here in the US, but there were a few major differences. There was a loading bay area where the bodies come into the morgue, some extremely large coolers. I think they said they could hold something like 300 or 400 bodies at a time, but they typically max out at around 70, he said. There was a sort of interesting pre-examination area where the body can be viewed, undressed, photographed, etc. And in one of the major differences between our systems, I was told that's also where the police will be, and they determine whether or not an autopsy will need to happen. In the US, that decision is not made by the police, at least not in any of the jurisdictions that I've ever worked in. They had a CT scanner, which actually had been rigged up in a really smart way. They had some Velcro straps duct taped to the sides of the table so that it could hold the body bag in place. Their actual autopsy stations were very similar to the standalone ones that we use, the big shiny silver ones that have a water source and a bunch of drainage holes. And apparently the autopsy technicians work at those, and they'll do the evisceration on those tables and bring the organs to a different table where the physician, the forensic pathologist, can do the organ prosection. They did have a few tools that I had never used in the US before. I mean, I've seen them, but I just never thought to use them, and I thought it was a good idea. One was a ring cutter, just to be used for when rings are stuck on fingers that tend to get bloated. One was a motorized scissor saw thing that they use to cut off clothes, and I asked why they don't just use regular scissors, and they said they use it specifically for leather clothes, so that seems like a good idea. And then they had a power drill that they told me they used to screw the calvarium back on, which is just not something that we do. One of the largest differences in the day-to-day postmortem procedures was that in Denmark, they actually do allow in-person viewings of the body within the facility. They have a room where the body can be put on a table and either viewed directly or viewed through a window from an adjoining room. And they said that this is allowed for anyone, not just family members, but they do have to prove they were close with the person by providing some governmental information that's likely only known in Denmark by the people that are close to you. They also said that they do allow this regardless of the condition of the body, including in cases of severe trauma, skeletonized remains, profound decomposition. Anything is acceptable. Though they said they do strongly discourage people from viewing it and say, you really don't want to do this. But in the end, if they want to do it, it is allowed. And they said these viewing sessions are booked all day, almost every day. The other major difference, and what I consider to be the biggest difference between the way our systems work in our different countries, is that in Denmark, they also do clinical forensic medicine on living patients. So when someone is the victim of a crime and they survive, forensic pathologists will do medical legal evaluations of their injuries and gather evidence. The tour of the facility was really cool, and it showed so many ways that our practice is so different, and also so many ways that things are the same everywhere. So when we were in that little initial viewing room where everyone was standing for that pre-examination, my tour group all laughed because we heard an ICD start beeping, which anyone who's been in a morgue knows that is a universal irritants. Is irritants a word? Irritation? Universal irritation. After that, they took us on a boat tour through Copenhagen, and we were able to see the city from the water. The heat wave continued, I got super sunburned, but it really is a beautiful city. Then we had a final dinner and goodbye with the entire group. The food was great, the weather was finally nice after the sun went down at like 11 o'clock at night, and it was a great way to close out that conference. So from a non-forensic perspective, Denmark was really cool. I saw the Danish Design Museum, appreciated the impact they had on architecture, and saw the original designs for all of the fancy furniture that I had knockoffs of while I was in college. And I got to ride a slide down from the top floor of the museum to the bottom. I got to have some smørrebrød, which is a type of open-faced sandwich, and it's more or less the traditional lunch food of Denmark. I did go to the Health Museum, which was a really nice museum, but honestly, I don't know if I'm going to keep going to these health museums because it feels silly going to a place where they have on display all the stuff that I do on a regular basis. Though, I will say they did have some stuff that I don't see on a regular basis, so that was cool. I think I'm going to keep trying to do this. I want to keep learning about how they do things in other parts of the world, and maybe I can turn this into some sort of series. Let me know what you guys think. Oh, and one more quick thing. This big power plant thing in the background, that's what burns up the trash for Copenhagen. But they designed it so that it has a ski hill on the back. And I was going to snowboard down this whole thing, but I'm like 40 years old and not athletic enough for that. But how cool is that?